All right, welcome back to the channel. So, Terence Crawford is the #1 pound for pound fighter in the world, not Canelo Alvarez, because Canelo Alvarez's resume is garbage. Little exaggeration on what the great James Toney had to say about who the best fighter in boxing is, and it is Terence Crawford, according to him. Let's talk about that and give my thoughts on what I think the case is in this video. All right, welcome back. So I am very, very happy to be able to do a video that I know will not have half of the state of Omaha or half of the state of Nebraska wanting to slap me in the mouth. Terence Crawford, according to James Toney, James Lights Out Toney. If you don't know who he is, let me tell you this. James Toney is a better fighter than both of them. And if you don't believe it, ask James Toney. He will tell you straight to your face. And he is. He is a member of a group of fighters that all are around the same age, that are all-time greats, that if you would have asked the majority of boxing fans that act like they know something, or what if they were fighting today, they would be who have you fought type of fighters. Those great fighters are James Toney, Roy Jones Jr., and of course, the alien himself, the executing alien, Bernard, the Executioner Hopkins. I don't think of him as the alien. That's when he got old, and yeah, it was a little crazy having him fight when he was old. But man, if you liked him then, you need to see him when he was around the same time as James Toney. So those guys are all three of them are guys that could have been considered, who are all fighting around the same time, and all should be considered pound for pound fighters and all-time greats that at the time did not get that respect. And I'm telling you, at least my observation is that same thing is going on with the great fighters that we have right now. Now, when James Toney says that Terence Crawford is the #1 pound for pound fighter in the world, I have to respect it. I don't have to agree with it, but I have to respect it, or I choose to respect it. And why? Because James Toney is a much better fighter than me. It's just what it is. He has a better eye for the sport of boxing in the ring than I do, and that's just the truth. So where you might be able to blow me off and say, when I say who I think the #1 pound for pound fighter in the world is, because I look at it and I tell you the way that I look at it is the 4 areas of scoring in boxing, you could say, hey, I don't think that's the right way to look at it. But with James Toney, it doesn't matter. His opinion is a valid opinion. You can have other Hall of Fame fighters and all that. They could say something different. But the mere fact that he said it with his pedigree means that it is reasonable. And that's all you have to be in a subjective sport like boxing. If somebody scores more points than somebody else in basketball, that's what it is. But in boxing, who's the best, especially in this pound for pound type of conversation, is completely subjective. So James Toney says, I think it's Terence Crawford. Ellie Sethpak, who did the interview, excellent interview by Ellie Sethpak, catching James Toney coming out of a gym. Or actually not catching him coming out of a gym. I'm pretty sure he was in the gym with him. That's what he does. Very, very good at it too. Excuse me, had to step off for a second. James Toney says, oh, hey man, I think that it is Terence Crawford. Ellie Sethpak says, oh, hey, no, what about Canelo Alvarez? And James Toney looks shocked. Like, what? Look who he's fighting. And he said, oh, he's fighting guys that are like, whoever, whatever. No, Terence Crawford. And then Ellie Sethpak says, and you can go check out the interview, and I'll give you to what I think of it in a second. He says, no, man. Canelo just fought Callum Smith. You know the fight we just saw Callum Smith fight against Canelo, where all the media told us, hey, this is this great fight, and this is really for the best fighter at 168 pounds. when really anybody that had ever watched Callum Smith fight and Canelo Alvarez fight would have known, no, that is a absolute ridiculous mismatch. Same thing would have been the case if Callum Smith fought Jermall Charlo. That would have been a mismatch. I don't know whether or not Jermall Charlo would have been able to knock out Callum Smith where Canelo Alvarez didn't knock him out. I can't say that. But I am sure that if Callum Smith fought Jermall Charlo by taking 3 steps back, planting his feet and covering up, that Jermall Charlo could also punch him in the arm hundreds and hundreds of times till, what is that, a hematoma? What is that when that thing jumps out? Like the side of your arm looks like Hasim Rahman's head. Yeah, really highly skilled fighter there. But James Toney, that's my opinion. But what does James Toney say? James Toney says, he was scared half to death. Like, what are you talking about? He was scared half to death. Did you see that dude? Come on, man. So, is Canelo Alvarez the number 1 pound-for-pound fighter? Do I agree with that? Because James Toney has his opinion, and I don't agree with James Toney on that. Now, do I think that Canelo Alvarez is? No, I do not. Now, the reason that I don't think that he's the number 1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world is because I have a memory that keeps going back to the second Gennady Golovkin fight, the lead into the second Gennady Golovkin fight, where Canelo tested positive for clenbuterol. But, that's me, stickler for things like positive drug tests when you're asking, is this fighter honest or not? Reports come out, I do believe, from Barbershop Conversations, who just killed it by allowing that interview that took place on his channel. I can't wait to talk about it in the live stream. Wow, that was a monster. Anyway, I don't think Canelo Alvarez he tested positive for performance-enhancing drugs. He didn't test, I do not believe, for this fight with Callum Smith. I just think the guy's on steroids. So I don't know how good he is because he looks like a big blob of muscle. He looks like a big brick of muscle. And, I don't know about that. You know what I'm saying? I don't know about that. That's just how I feel about drug cheats because other people aren't getting caught, and they're getting caught. So, there's rules for something, just like if you jump in there and hit somebody with a bat. I don't know if you're a good boxer if you're running around hitting people with bats. This ain't baseball. You know what I'm saying? This ain't baseball fight. What's going on, man? You ain't Harley Quinn, whatever Batman's girlfriend's name is, the Joker's name is. You ain't supposed to be running around doing that. See what I'm saying? So, no, you ain't supposed to be on steroids, man. You ain't the Hulk. You're not supposed to do that. So, no, I can't put him there for that reason. If he had done 2 things, he would be. Number 1, don't test positive performance-enhancing drugs. Number 2, don't duck Jermall Charlo. But honestly, 3, but I'll just go with those. There's a couple other. But that's not saying that I'm completely ignorant to the fact that Canelo Alvarez is a very, very good fighter. He is. But come on, man. And when Ellie Sethback was naming the people that he fought that made him number 1 pound for pound, he mentioned Shane Mosley and Miguel Cotto. What? You mean the guys that fought last decade and were old when he fought them? What? He lost to Mayweather, who was old when he fought him. But, no, you're supposed to interpret that differently and say, no, Canelo didn't lose to Mayweather when Mayweather was old. No, man, please. Canelo thought he was going to win that fight. Canelo thought he was going to win that fight. That's why they took that fight. Because Mayweather was looking older. Canelo was younger. He was beating a bunch of folk. They didn't figure out yet that he was too slow a foot to deal with speed. And he got beat by an older fighter. Yes, the greatest fighter since Roy Jones Jr., a prime Roy Jones Jr. But yeah, okay, and I mean the best fighter. Did he have a better career than Roy Jones Jr.? Make more money? Yes. Busy a better fighter? I don't know. Not at the absolute prime because of the athleticism, but again, that's my take. Now, but the idea, I think that Errol Spence Jr. is because of the car accident and the level of competition and his fighting style. But anyway, that's what I think. So just want to let you know that it's not, that it's not because Canelo is Mexican that everybody thinks that he's not pound for pound. right? It's like, dude, can you guys come up with a better argument than that? The guy tested positive for performance-enhancing drugs. That is an objective fact. You can't get out of it. But anyway, that's my take on the matter. You let me know what you think. And with that, I'm out. Peace.